Thank you, Khenpo Sodarge, for those words. Just as a reminder for our questions, if I can ask you not to pass around the mic, but to line up behind the microphone, which is in the center aisle here. And I would ask you to keep your questions succinct, if possible, and direct. And if you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself before asking your question. So I invite you to come form a line behind the microphone in the center aisle. Thank you.
I'm from Boston University, and I will be an adjunct professor at the State University of New York. I think my question is, what is the difference between the meditation in Tibetan tradition and the meditation in Zen tradition?
Gum jingjido tani ngotsu hoirna shangchip ko sim gum jing yonare television da nyarjib gum jing yonare television da ta yindang ga chekin sowi chot da hoirna martagwa gum zikitana television da na tangsang na da namjira yoga da gum ziki gum jite da ri namba mon zonje te gum ju na na namto gum jing yonare namto mayamba gum jing yonare tene sim nyambre jogze kida ta tarisha na rezere gomtavr namba rgogr tokne na sim sikh chig de nyam jogze di ta namba kanda yanar naftok tamchit chop chapa gam gunun shi cheri yongda na ta tari sikh chig den jogyore kantar yang nika de yang gomgo khonsuk to yona chokoyore.
Meditation should be motivated by the bodhicitta, which is the awakened mind, by compassion, by the thought of impermanence, and also can involve many different methods or yogas. And so these yogas can be engaged with conceptual mind or without conceptual mind, or we can simply think of meditation as being the process of pacifying the mind through the 9 modes of placement, so that all thought proliferations are brought to a standstill, and one can single-pointedly rest in mind's nature. So it seems that in both cases, all of these different techniques are emphasized.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My first question is, I heard about meditation can be do in anywhere, anytime, but the fact is sometimes when we want to do the meditation, but the environment is too crowded. People are singing, they are talking, they are playing, so it may be hurt, maybe disturb our mind. So what should we do in that environment? And then the second question is, because if we are at home, masters won't be just stay with us. So what should we do if we are alone? We are just at home. The masters is at other place. The third question is, and how long should we do the meditation every day? Thank you.
Oya, tenangi nikal hanjigdo chochi trabat songmangi taril hanjigda arjo. Tene hanjigda langshig nang jamna ngatsu jindeng gun so ga chok shawa kangda kang jamna rang semla sta jiwndo tene gum tamchik na gum tarthig bare. Tene jindeng rangi semla rang sta jiwndo tar nam tok jene nan jaga sim digne nan jaga shawa kang shena ya jind nge shawa chipshe ka nge chipsam ga ko nimu jind go sam ji zina rang tene 지금 gum ge nyam da na timo tham che tar ngar mi diar tarim jong je ta gum ju ti chun zhen jang na te zu de ji ngamo da shi zhu de jin de na ji ning gong rab na ji nyang ji ga da re ji tan sim da tan zhi timo gum gong je gar te te ta ba mo do ji na rang ge ta ji ma ji ba zam zi de rang ge ti su ta te ne de gum gong je shi ju ge na gum ji de ji le la bo ji ni ma ji da ni zam zi ge ying go na ma re 회나가 저게 오열내니나 지금 정내 코나 곰기원데요는 지금 로스음다 자왁스음다는 적섬 디모이 처럼디 지금 다 럼바 땅보고 정내 다리가 잠석들 기다리게는 디모요고.
I'll just answer all your questions at once.
Thank you.
So the main point is all of us have to learn to just simply watch our own mind, to look into your own mind. In all the situations, like you mentioned, in a busy situation, home alone situation, whatever the case may be, you watch your own mind, you look into that. What am I thinking now? Why is this disturbing me? What should I be doing? Why am I confused about that? You look into your own mind with mindfulness and remembering the teachings that you've received, and you try to apply and be aware of what's going on, so that you're not just oblivious to things, but that you are aware, so that you can begin to be a meditator who does contemplative awareness practice. And in terms of how long or when you're going to do that, well, ideally, one should do some practice in the morning, some practice in the evening. Or traditionally, it's said 3 times a day in 3 sessions or 6 sessions, whatever the case may be. It seems important not to forget to at least do this at some point, so that it's not something that you just completely forget about. And then you build from there. And because this is not necessarily easy. And so we have to create the habit. There are many who say that shamatha meditation can be accomplished after 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days of meditative retreat. Well, it's kind of hard to define it into those time frames when each individual is actually different. But you do your best to introspect and be mindful of your own mental process, and that would constitute being the practice of contemplative awareness.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
So when I try meditation, I might sometimes fall asleep, or sometimes when I get distracted, I can't stop counting my heartbeat or my breath. Is there any ways you can suggest anything I can do to improve it? And second question is just my curiosity, because now we're talking about meditation, about concentrate on what you do. But sometimes when we do study or when we work, we actually try and do several things spontaneously. So can you give us some suggestions, compare with that? What is the benefit of focus completely on one thing when you're doing it? Thanks.
롭지 냠름시 지론데 드네 따따 셈 파체와 지 랑아 랑왕즈 토요지 요지라고 선딩아 이치요 이나야 공땅 간절고 때랑에 다리 하나 다리 샷차르네 데 막도가 샷죠 잠밤에 여번도 여하스 고마송 다 샤치고 접디다가 소 잠판다 저베다 다가 랑돈 시급 좀 지로나 드네 야지라고 다 디모즈 역사로 고음도
Ken Rinpoche wasn't exactly clear as to what the main point of the question is, but he would just encourage you to focus more on benefiting others and less on what's going on with yourself, and then just benefiting others and try to practice that way.
Okay. Thank you.
What's your cutting? I'm interested in New York. New York, New Jersey, pretty some cause of Shuji, she'll touch you. Any Tiwala same say the condition no songre, the condition, penetration, Atisha, loving Atisha, crying, Lojon, Lola, same dela, any Tama Jungung Yomaris, this Tido, any same say they want to Timakai Melche, Lava Chime Melche, and Sordu Soedo. The same thing all the Koreans. In English, brief question, what is the nature, what is the source of our mind? Where does it come from? We cannot see it, we cannot taste it, but it's there. We feel it. Thank you.
심 제간득진도 릭베 딱상 샤지 잔즈나 칸 요는 말에 레타 마흐터 마크셰팔 요레스 대전 섭임 도르디거 갑나야 셈라 셈맘치파 셈기랑시 옥사르와 옥송온제 대네나 다리가 셈라 셈맘치페세지 셈공 오르동아 송제다는 셈기랑시 옥사르와세 긴드 랑정 송제터레 대나 또 셈더 돈 담발아 다리 제와다 엄정아 네바야 요 말다 건습도 르르 사르도 르르 다리 터터고 옥사르와다도 요너레 대네나 또 다지 라미 망가 때 있다는 그 런거 냠슬랑에다 그 샘기 ngôn 마도 제면나 런커그 단디 먹지 롭마 모즈 그 초거지 샘기 람전들이 제이다리 타커 건설톤 시르고나야 지 하장 까본지 인제 건 따리야나 티토다 다리 로존 시교다 하장 까르침보레.
Yes, if you were to analyze to find where the mind is, it cannot be found. But without analyzing, it seems to be there. And so it is as the sutras tell us, the sutras of the Tathagata, where it states that the nature of the mind is luminosity, is clear light. And so given that the mind is empty by virtue of its essence, its nature is that it abides as luminous cognizance. And so from an ultimate or absolute point of view, the mind was never born and the mind never ceases. But from a relative point of view, there is still something that we have to deal with. And this we know. We know there is, and that's why we're here. And so in order to know exactly how to approach this, one has to receive the pointing out instructions from a spiritual master who is qualified to give them. And then you can learn as a disciple how to identify the mind's nature, and then you will rest in the nature of the mind. And if you try to do this by yourself, it's very difficult. So that's why it's important to go through this process.
Good afternoon, dear Campo. I'm a student from Columbia University. I began to get involved in believing Buddhism since I was 7 years old. And I've been haunted by a question that through meditation or study of Buddhism, how can we know that exactly how much power we could have to help others so that we will not get frustrated when we help other people or we get depressed when we can't reach our goal? Thanks.
chula hom chula bakun ba tela teni jana phan kan ri takare ni kan ti jam phang gi shawa dubdi kamla teni kan ta chi dumma ta teni ti war ki chik chazon do center do dungan do tende kangan do tende mejin do tende jana kan chi ni jam phang bo tu dub
다 잠풍거 삼바 하정 리자체오스 요티데 tene jampan tribi kurum ku chot rangla kala kansam ga kangar dana tene chi ta katsak kawle mons gam chakand gna re retana ina te tak so tamchit chi ta khwa dare tingarchin da tan yoyon mare horna chongba z gna na chong chimbo z dara ko ne na ta ti che de chi katsak kawle nyongshi z dari ge gona ya na dari khute chi semcher dana timo yokon mare 대인디 수 정근고 양나 지금 잠방급 삼바데 야라 프르드 심바다 차 통보스가 렙티도 가르쳐와래 가르테디 삼바데 텐자즈 렙이요티 되네 지금 샤와 강당 감점나라 그러나 지금 니카 그 감치 지금 뭐 잠 그런데 나라 티모 용내나 자가 강라야나 다리가 곤점 듣고 말해 인zem나 말해 가르테 다리가 잠방급 삼바데 야 치워서 메티 강을 총총스 그냥 지금 다리가 대랑아 욕잡종에 다나 그 샤워 접 듣고요 말해
Yes, the thought to be of benefit to others needs to be cultivated in a vast way. And when this becomes something that is accomplished, it means that one is able to tirelessly engage in that kind of activity. It's not an effort, it's a joy. And so that is not going to be obstructed by anything. It will be, in a way, from an ordinary point of view, if someone wants their business to be successful, they'll just go to any effort it takes, day and night, to work hard to accomplish that goal. They're not going to get tired, right? And so all the more so, because the thought to benefit others is so much more sublime than any ordinary selfish pursuit, then whatever it takes, one is not going to find any difficulty. One is going to be able to just work in order to benefit others, and the rewards will be there.
Thanks. Dear Kampu, it's such a great honor to have you here to give us such a wonderful speech. My name is Jie, and my question is, as a college student, we have a really busy schedule. So do you have any suggestions for our college student how to balance our time to practice Buddhism and also study? Thank you.
다 롭자가 능거 조 로종 시기의 가르침보래 때는 로종 시기 저르든 냠는 가나 강성 시나요 회나 다리 난디 나모야를 지나라한지다 납디 말은 야기오 때요는 같이 시세세 이네요 아주 뒤축적인 기도 서라다리 런거 탑서 넘버 나서 왔더니 나는 그거 서라요 그거 외시시 다리 총제 근데 조 셈라로 오늘 존지당 담발라다 이거 그 냠린 나다 로종 나다 강양 다리가 고르급쇼르 말에 녜때나 조 셈식다나 조 존지요니나 다데 판천 다리가 가르와다나 데비전다나 지가 접기 말에 삼고.
So as a student in college, of course, the most important thing is your studies at this time. You have to emphasize that in order to be successful, right? And so that's going on, but along with that, in order to continue with a spiritual practice, such as meditation, then you just have to get up earlier or go to bed later in terms of carving out the time to practically be able to sit and do that too. So you've got both of those things going on. But not to forget that both of these are going on with one mind. Mainly it's your mind, which is ongoing. And so if you are being diligent in your studies, that's a form of meditative concentration, right? That's a form of meditating, by focusing in that way. And so by having a focused study that is able to produce knowledge and accomplish its goal through mental strength, through exertion, this is also meditation practice. So in a way, you're combining them too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Dear Kempo, thank you for coming. My name is Jeannie, and I'm also from Columbia University, and I have a question that we all know that in the Western world, traditionally the Christianity is the dominant religion, and I actually know some Dharma teachers, they actually don't promote Buddhism as a religion. So I'm just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on how to engaging Western people to see Dharma as a religion, or just a worldly Dharma, maybe just to, balance or improving their life, or maybe as a philosophy. Thank you.
Ari langpa halam yeshu re diorwa, ene kashe nangpa gi chuluk re, teni kashe nangpa gi chuluk mare, sem gi lopjong chesa. Teni kempo kare gongiru, nangpa gi chuluk gi di choksu gyurpare yana shen kare samgiyore.
다 ngayen ataga ngama kyajin jingmen punso zo ngchegi lolang de ris ma chipa ga dari ga jamtazi ga jongri de ne na chi yinji nga nang ba re ta ngi lojong shesa da de yishiri yang yo nare dari yishi chulig yang yo nare tamayen ba da dari zamolang ga tang chulig ram ra yang lojong she kon re chulig ram mayen ba ga yang na de ta ji char ga laksar da na nimo cho tam chi da nyamji 어럭도 있다는 그 로종 쉐콘제 대나 닝원이나 아주 그 출근 대소 담치장 가라메 빠다나 안로아메 따리 개편요 봐. 다 디모즈레 삼고요. 대인데 좀때 지 긍긍 오게 있나 다리가 랑때 있나 랑가 출력다는 점탑 열고 말이다 있나요 지금 참마대 로종시기다 참마대 당랑시단 로아메 징저거 냠다 판밥접 기원도 르니 조진 저종시기다 나잔다 판밥접 기원도 가서 대랑아츠 뭐 탐책금 장나요 비다리 샤와즈레 삼고요.
My master, His Holiness Khenpo Jigpun, he always taught that Buddhism was a tradition that was unbiased, and that meant that it was all-inclusive and able to embrace the beliefs of any human being as long as they were positive and beneficial. And so, based on that premise, then also we can say that a good Buddhist would be inspired to learn the views of other world religions so as to be knowledgeable and well-informed. There's this openness to knowledge and to finding that which is concurrent and harmonious, and so that people can meet one another on the same level with a genuine human embrace. And so, at the same time, that doesn't mean that you would lose your own focus as a Buddhist, that primarily, if you are a Buddhist practitioner, you are studying your own tradition, those philosophies, engaging in those practices. Those things don't have to change. But you don't find other religions to be contradictory to that, because you're learning the essence of their goodness, and you can be open to them, well-informed, knowledgeable, and in this way you can communicate with all human beings, not just only those who believe exactly like you.
Good afternoon, dear Khenpo. I just have a very quick question. I know in Buddhism, like, we take refuges to Buddha, to Sangha, to Dharma, and we know, especially in Tibetan Buddhism, like, our teacher is very important. We should respect our teachers. But I just wonder, what happened if we saw Sangha did wrong, or we heard people like talk about our teacher, like say if he did something wrong, like, what's the best way to deal with those situations?
딱조 닐릭 슬라요나 때다리 조 시르고 지레 삼가 더인네나 다리 지금 잠바수 그런데 빠다나 잠바수 도르nghiệp 모요온제다 대조 스처치가 말이야 조 아주 장는 거 탐치다 판바 돕기다는 런거 세마 판바 돕기 데스타비 닐릭 요노 티츠드 지르타진다 다리 럭터시기다 런거 냠슬랭기 오테 같이 그래 잠바 젠즈르 집도시나 대 지금 케피다리 레가즈 말해.
You basically de-emphasize that kind of talk. You just keep focusing on what is true and right, what is the fundamental truth. And that has to do with how you can benefit beings in the world, how you can benefit your own mind, and this whole process that you're engaged in having a teacher and following the path. So it's no longer important to, even have to consider what those things are that are being said. Just let it be and keep on your direction.
And thank you so much for your speech, Master. And I'm current year student, and my question will be very straightforward: is how to deal with remorse. Thank you. How to deal with remorse.
단 요즘에 이들은 그 나르시가 다리 드와 탐쳤다 제르고난 자가 샤 말락 바초 회나 뜨그승 통에다 더 뜨근 통에다는 런거 리보 나르치 그지송은 있나 다 남지가 내 끝나때 뜨긴 보고 저도 신ሾ건더 따위 뜨든 통문이 그 마토 제면 런거 리라 나즈 삼기메 케바르테리온 거 삼에 신쇼다리 니 뜨든 만통 삼기고 티스타위 삼비냐만 요즘 제너레 대인이나 다리가 드가 시작나라나 티스타위 요즘즈디 요트니나 드가 ndabrak 송원제.
The way to deal with remorse is that you really feel this in the core of your being to the point where you're not going to repeat whatever that was, again, that has caused you this remorse, as though you had partaken of poison, but you were lucky enough to not die. Are you going to do that again? No, you know how sick that made you. And so you have learned your lesson, as it were. So you have to just keep that kind of commitment. That's called true remorse, where basically you give up that direction and it doesn't happen again.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for bringing the blessings to all of us. And my name's Kelly. I'm recently graduated from Yale. Now I'm working in the World Bank in DC. So my question is that sometimes from being a student to working as a young professionals, we always get lost sometimes, and we cannot find it, even though we work, but we couldn't find the work that we're really passionate about. And so we try to work harder and to find what is really interests us. But sometimes we always get lost, and we could not feel that's the right one for us. So for this case, would you give us some suggestions how we deal with when we get lost, and should we continue or just give up until wait the right time comes, then everything will be fine? Thanks.
다 대 잠복는 거 롭자 강당 강야나 롭자 돈 차르니 되니 그 레가 자기온다 하장 같이 쉬는 거 그러나 아메리카나이나 저 리자크 잔다 저 드르니나 네 상롭당나 텐자다리 그 적슈레 제타나 레가 자기오는 그 당보 공거는 지 고르모 하장 몽오즈단 톰보 되니 어머기를 챙겨 그냥 그만도 어머기를 총사네 쏠는시 기잔지나 되니 름지 되니 다리 ರಂಗಂ ದಲ್ಲಂ ದಕ್ಸರ್ 용ಗರೆ ಮಾತೋ ಜಮ ತಾಂಸ ಜೊನ್ನ ಸೋ ಛಮಾಗ ತಾಂಬೋ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಸೋಪ್ಚಾಂಗೋ ಥೊಂ데ನ ತನೆ ದಾವಾರೆ ರೆಜಂದನ ಕೋರ್ಮೋ 다리 베 동청 몽보다나 ತನೆ 지 고네양 톰보 럭서리양나 지 타커 베슈 촉사타 디모이나 레키 다리가 고네 대한 자ጆ스가 모인너레 대난 잠몰은 거뭐 하장 적천 뭐 조용의 당보 곰바 름지 소용너레 다 데스터 시기나 그 싫던 거 레가 다리가 자주 강을 요요는데다 요나양 지 그 름지 런거 다리 임달람도 익사로 온지를 삼가.
Yes, concerning this point, I think it's most excellent to have graduated from these fine colleges and institutions, and going ahead and getting your vocation and pursuing your career is crucial. And that's exactly the direction you should be taking. But it seems that sometimes here in America, it might be that, and in other countries too, the young student who's a fresh graduate who's looking for employment has too lofty of a goal to try to get a very high position just right from the get-go. And so I think you should lower that expectation and start at a more reasonable place, and then gradually build upon that and approach more slowly and carefully without becoming too overly excited or perhaps unrealistic about jumping too high initially before it's time.
Thank you very much.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. So on behalf of Yale University, of the Yale Chaplain's Office and the Department of Religious Studies, I would like to sincerely thank Khenpo Sodarge for his very fine words, his lecture and advice to us all. I'd also like to thank our translators for helping out as well, and I hope that in the future we may have a connection to meet again, to have you to meet our community once again. So thank you very much.